Hello everyone and welcome to a new video of Your Polyglot Academy. Today we're continuing with our series on how to learn French in 50 days with Assimil, or with method of assimilation, and we're going to continue with lessons number 7 and 8. So let's go. Now firstly, we're going to consider lesson number 7, and this lesson is going to be pretty particular because every seventh lesson of this course is devoted to revising and also explaining in greater detail what you've learned over the previous days. So you can kind of have a sort of a recap so that you can also have the opportunity to test whether you understood everything during the last 6 lessons. And in this lesson, we're going to cover some grammar topics, and at the end, there's going to be a dialogue with vocabulary that you learned in the last 6 lessons. So it's kind of a way to test you and also a recap. Now, we're going to start with gender. Now, the gender is one of the biggest difficulties facing English speakers because in English we don't have genders. We simply say the, for example. That would be the determinate article. But as we already saw, in French there are two genders. You have a feminine one and a masculine noun. And even though there are some basic rules, you will have to learn most of the nouns by heart. So you will simply have to rely on your memory. There is no trick for most of the nouns to magically determine the gender or whatsoever, but you simply have to know it automatically. Now, what you should do in this case is to firstly learn the nouns with the respective gender. So don't just learn that woman is femme or that man is homme. Learn also the respective gender that comes with it, because otherwise you're going to make lots of mistakes. And the gender is also fundamental in order to conjugate adjectives respectively. So that is a very important issue. Furthermore, you should also start by writing down every noun you learn together with both articles so that you will not forget them. And now here's a small table. This is simply a short list to help you get started, but at least you might get the feeling of how it would work. So, for example, some masculine nouns we already saw were en or le boulevard, en café, en croissant, en plein. And some of the feminine nouns we saw were une chambre, une tartine, une fille, un fronton, une heure. And by directly writing the article, then you will automatically know the gender of the noun. So you will also get used to using the right articles with the right nouns so that you will not make any mistakes at all if it comes to gender. So I hope you can get that. Following on, I'm also going to talk about verbs. Now, in French, there are 3 groups depending on the ending of the infinitive, but the largest group comprises verbs ending in er. So, for example, appeler, to call, chercher, to look for, désirer, to want, penser, to think, etc. And there are also more forms than in English. So, for instance, in English, to conjugate the verb to think, you would simply say, I think you think, and then the third person singular is going to add an S. So you're going to say, he thinks, she thinks, he thinks, and then you're going to conclude with, we think, you think, they think. But in French, you have je pense, I think, vous pensez, you think, nous pensons, we think. So there are lots of different forms that you will all have to learn by heart. Now, another peculiarity is the fact that there is no continuous verb forms in French. So something like I am doing, I'm reading does not exist. There is not a present continuous. There are some ways to build something which might seem like a present continuous, but it's not going to be like that. And normally you simply need the present simple. So it's going to be easier for you in this case. Now, talking about irregular verbs, we already saw some of them, such as être, to be, or aller, to go. And lastly, in order to negate a sentence, we already mentioned that, but you need 2 words. You need ne, or and with an apostrophe before a vowel, which is going to come before the verb, and then pas right after the verb. So, for example, the verb je pense, I think, in order to negate it, you're simply going to build ne before pense and then pas after that. So, the negation of je pense is going to be je ne pense pas. So, I think, I don't think. So, I hope you can get that. Following on, we're going to talk about the alphabet. Now, there isn't really much to say about it. I'm going to spell it out for you because in the oral exam, you might have to spell out nouns. So you might want to know how each consonant and each vowel sounds. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. So this is the alphabet in French. Or in order to conclude this lesson, use the review dialogue I already mentioned. There are 10 sentences, listen to it, and then write the translation of it as an exercise for yourself. Ready? Let's go.
Dialogue de révision. Bonjour Chloé, comment allez-vous?
Ça va très bien, merci. Et vous?
Très bien. Est-ce que vous avez l'heure?
Désolée, je n'ai pas de montre, mais je pense qu'il est midi,
Comment le savez-vous?
parce que j'ai rendez-vous avec ma fille, et elle a toujours 5 minutes de retard.
Merci beaucoup pour votre aide.
Okay, so I hope that you understood everything, and now we're going to continue with lesson number 8. Now, we're firstly going to start with the dialogue, as always. Ready? Let's go. Here's the dialogue for lesson number 8.
8e leçon.
Une visite.
Bonjour mademoiselle. Est-ce que votre père est à la maison?
Non, monsieur. Il est au bureau aujourd'hui.
À quelle heure est-ce qu'il rentre après le travail?
Oh, pas avant 8 heures, normalement. Vous voulez l'adresse de son bureau?
Oui, s'il vous plaît.
Attendez un moment. Je cherche mon carnet d'adresses. Voilà. 7 rue Marbeuf, dans le 8e.
Merci beaucoup, mademoiselle. Au revoir.
De rien, monsieur. Au revoir.
8e leçon.
Une visite.
Bonjour mademoiselle. Est-ce que votre père est à la maison?
Non, monsieur. Il est au bureau aujourd'hui.
À quelle heure est-ce qu'il rentre après le travail?
Oh, pas avant 8 heures, normalement. Vous voulez l'adresse de son bureau?
Oui, s'il vous plaît.
Attendez un moment. Je cherche mon carnet d'adresses. Voilà. 7 rue Marbeuf, dans le 8e.
Merci beaucoup, mademoiselle. Au revoir.
De rien, monsieur. Au revoir.
Have you understood everything? I hope so. Now, here's a translation of the dialogue. It's the 8th lesson, so lesson number 8, and the title is A Visit. Good morning, miss. Is your father at home? No, sir. He's at the office today. At what time does he come back after work? Oh, not before 8 o'clock normally. Do you want the address of his office? Yes, please. Wait a moment. I'm looking for my address book. There it is. 7 Rue Marbeuf in the 8th district. Thank you very much, miss. Goodbye. You're welcome, sir. Goodbye. So this was the dialogue. Now, we're going to make some remarks on it, some notes. Now, on the first one, we have seen that there are fewer prepositions in French than in English. Therefore, à la can mean to the, at the, or in the, depending on the preceding verb and also depending on the context. Now, we say à la if the noun is feminine. So, for example, à la maison would be at home. But we say au if the noun is masculine. So, for example, au bureau would be at the office. Remember, all nouns are either masculine or feminine, as we already talked about. Now, on the second note, we know that jour means day, as in bonjour, good day, or more generally, hello. The adverb aujourd'hui means today. Now remember that the present tense, temps présent in French, translates both the simple and the continuous forms of our present tense, as I already mentioned in lesson number 7. So je cherche would be I look for and I am looking for. Now depending on the context. On remark number 4, encarner is a common word that crops us in many guises. Basic meaning is a notebook, but if you take the Paris metro, you can buy un carnet de tickets, a book of tickets, which is cheaper than buying tickets individually. Un carnet d'adresse, an address book. And now notice that une adresse has only one D, so that's a difference from English. And finally, beaucoup is an adverb of quantity that translates much, many, and a lot of, making no distinction whatsoever between countable and uncountable nouns. Beaucoup de temps, much time, beaucoup de croissants, many croissants, merci beaucoup, thanks very much or thanks a lot. And now finally, here's the exercises. First, you start with exercise number 1.
Exercice 1. Traduisez.
Est-ce que votre père est à la maison aujourd'hui?
Il est au bureau, monsieur.
Voici l'adresse. Il habite dans le 6e.
Merci beaucoup, monsieur.
De rien, mademoiselle. À quelle heure est-ce qu'il rentre?
Pas avant 7 heures.
And then continue on with exercise number 2, where you will have to fill in the missing words and also make sure to write your solutions as a comment if you would like a correction of that, or if you would like to know the right solutions. And other than that, I hope that you understood everything. I also hope that you enjoyed the lessons. If you have any questions or so ever, just write in the comments. And other than that, thanks for watching. Have a nice day and see you soon. Goodbye.